Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rafael Echevarne, General Director of ACI-LAC, General Concession of Airports for Latin America and the Caribbean. And it's a true pleasure to welcome you once again to one of our webinars that we are holding practically every week to deal with specific aspects of the industry under this current situation of COVID-19. Today, I have a true pleasure in introducing Pablo Stier. He's the CEO of IMAQUIP. IMAQUIP is the last company that has joined the World Business Partners Group. These are the commercial partners of ACI-LAC, and truly, it's a true pleasure to welcome them because under this current situation, to see that there are companies interested in joining ACI-LAC, it's a true pleasure. It's gives us, makes us feel very good. And we want to continue ahead with the work we're doing. Pablo Stier and Manuel Cueto, they will be telling us about a technology that can be very interesting for airports, not only in our region, throughout the whole world. We as ACI-LAC are supporting and encouraging the governments of the region so that they adopt technologies, because we believe if there has been a time where we need to implement technologies to encourage the countries to raise restrictions for air transportation and provide trust to passengers, it's now. This is a moment for technology. Technology can be our great ally, and technology that will be presented by Pablo and Manuel del Cueto is one of those revolutionary technologies that will provide us trust in air transportation. Without any further ado, it's a pleasure to introduce Pablo and welcome IMAQUIP as the last company that has joined us as a commercial partner of ACI-LAC. I leave you in hands of Francisco Medela, my ACI-LAC colleague, who will explain how the webinar will work out. Thank you. Thank you very much, Rafael. Welcome. Good morning to everyone. Just to explain quickly the methodology of the webinars of ACI-LAC. If you know, you have been able to see in the other webinars, we don't have the chat tool open, and the questions to the presenters will be in the following manner. You will send your questions telling us who the question is addressed to the address on the screen. And at the end of the presentations, we will have 10-15 minutes of Q&A. As you have been able to see or check or test, we have simultaneous interpretation. You can access interpretation in the lower menu of Zoom with the globe, Earth globe icon, where you can choose the language of your preference. It's important in some cases you might be able to hear both voices, the interpreter and the presenter at the same time. So there's the option to silence or mute original audio, so you won't hear both at the same time. It's also in the lower part on the sphere. Without any further ado, we have Pablo Stier with us, CEO of IMAQUIP, who will give us a brief presentation, introduction today. Good morning, friends, ladies and gentlemen. IMAQUIP, always looking for ways to support you. Many of you know us because you have used our services. We're providing maintenance in some of your facilities. We're always looking for new alternatives, new technologies to be able to support you in a more holistic, integral way. In this occasion, we have forged an alliance with our SPR company. From the moment we checked them out, we realized it was something totally different, totally novel, since their main points is that RESPR is active technology that continues working for 24 hours, even with staff and passengers within the facilities. The staff or personnel doesn't have to leave for cleanup, and and the areas are totally free of pathogens, in this case, COVID-19. In this case, in this manner, IMEQUIP is always trying to look for the way to provide you support. We're certain that this solution, this revolutionary solution, will be of great benefit and even will achieve that we can go back to the prior normality before COVID, reducing in time. This is the clearest vision I have on this topic. And so with this technology, we will go back to normality, the one we had before COVID. So if beforehand we could go back to in 18 months to the levels of February 2019, I think with this new technology, the more it's applied at the airport, it will generate more trust in the passengers. So we can increase volumes of the same, and we can go back to our income. The airports will return to their previous income before COVID much more quickly. So without any further ado, I will introduce Manuel del Cueto. He will give you technical details about the RESPR technology and the good points of the same. Manuel, please. Manuel was muted. Manuel was muted. 1 second, please. His microphone was muted. 1 second, please. One second, please, ladies and gentlemen. Manuel is muted. Now we can hear him. Good afternoon. My pleasure. Thanks for joining this webinar. I will tell you a bit what our technology is about and how long we've been working on this technology. This technology has been here for many years, since 1911 with photocatalysis, but it was used for space issues. 20 years ago with our ESPR, we started with Dr. Suki. We started to implement this technology for several branches or areas worldwide. We focus mainly, 12 years ago, I stayed in Mexico. I'm a partner worldwide too. I have distributions worldwide. And we're focused mostly until now with tangible problems. Why? Well, because only 4 months ago, microorganisms were intangibles. So we were not worried about microorganisms, but now we need to focus on it 100% and look for the most efficient technology. Well, let's talk about the technology initially, then we go to questions. Why the name RESPR, Revolutionary Surface Pathogen Reduction? We eliminate 99.9% of the bacteria on the surface through the air. Air will be the way to do it, and obviously 100% of the air must be disinfected to achieve this. Why now do we realize there's a world problem? But from several years back, we've been looking into this existing problem. We know that every confined space is polluted. So in our daily lives, we have closed down spaces. We don't leave free radicals in the ambience. They're not able to come in and sanitize spaces properly. So with this new normality, these new challenges, we need to have more safer spaces and provide sanitation certainty, in this case, to the airports and staff that work at the airports. We need to protect the passengers and collaborators at the company. This is the companies. This is also important. They're not free from pollution. Well, as I was saying, it's a technology from NASA. It's part of the space station. At a point in time, it was used to maintain plants to keep people longer in space without consuming too much oxygen for the astronauts. But we realized there were much greater benefits. We're talking about active purification, where we will take this solution where the problem is. So far, technologies we're using to clean the air at any airport, any corporate areas are passive technologies. We call them passive because I need to take the problem, the solution to the problem, ultraviolet lights and others, and I try to clean up the air. But we send the solution towards where the problem is. I will explain how it works. We do it constantly. We work 24/7, different from other technologies that I imagine that many airports are using or were using before. So in this way, we will eliminate 99.9% of viruses, bacteria, fungi, spores, or any organic matter, so much in the air and surface. A bit talking about the technology. What do? The only thing we know we do, we decompose a bit of the relative humidity in the environment, which is H2O, into peroxide, oxygenated water. Hydroxide, peroxide, as we know, is one of the most unstable molecules that exist. If we buy oxygenated water in a pharmacy, it comes in a brown bottle, because if it's hit by sunlight, it becomes water immediately. So what we will do, we generate this hydrogen peroxide at such low levels that we can barely measure them. We know we generate less than 0.007 particles per thousand. And we hire a company, a specialized company with SGS to do this measurement. This measurement takes us to realize that it's under 0.007 particles per thousands, but it's enough to eliminate any microorganism, so much on the air and surface. We will find in the environment a series of hydrogens. There will be on all microorganisms, viruses, bacteria. That and with sending this peroxide, what we do, we look for these hydrogens to turn this hydrogen peroxide once again to turn it into relative humidity. So it's 100% safe. It's the most natural way to decontaminate and the most powerful one we can have. When we send these particles, this is a bit exaggerated here for you to find out how we stick to microorganisms with bacteria. We break down these cells to extract this hydrogen, so we deactivate them. In the case of the viruses, what we do is destroy their receptors, since they have their protein on the outside part. We deactivate them and they cannot contaminate. In the case of fungi, what we do is we dry them. How do we do it? Obviously, we use ultraviolet light, not as a purification method, but as a source of energy. Together with carbons and metals, we do this decomposition of the relative humidity and peroxide. There are several ways of doing it. One way is by introducing this in a duct, the same air conditioning ducts where the relative humidity comes in. We decompose it into peroxide and we send it like in microparticles in the environment. As you see in these images, this is a hospital. These microparticles will be in all the air looking for these microorganisms to be able to decompose them and to precipitate. We use ionization in our technology as precipitation of particles, and peroxide as decomposition or elimination of microorganisms. This is an example of a bacteria, for instance, how we break down this cell wall. We extract these hydrogens, we deactivate this bacteria, and H2O becomes relative humidity once again. We have thousands of tests, many with microchem. This is they support us with the amount of high peroxide we generate to provide support to the customers. We also have medical tests that no person will be harmed. But what's most important, all our customers that want to do their tests on site, it's normal. No matter that I send them 300, 400,000 tests. We've done many thousands of tests. We can share our tests with all of you. If you want to do it on your site, on your place, we can do it. It's very quick. In approximately 2 hours, we eliminate 90% of the contaminants on the surface. And in 12 hours, we reach zero. So we will always keep in zero for 24/7 in the air and surface. We have several types of microorganisms. We don't care which type of microorganism it is. We're not medication. We know COVID is around the world now. Just about no one is COVID-free in the world. So we know it's a behavior. We cannot ensure it. But we've done it with all types of viruses. N1, H1, we know we eliminate them. We're not a medication. We kill microorganisms based on our reaction, natural reaction based. Some of our certifications we have worldwide. We have medical certificates too. We've worked for many years. We have them with the European Union, with the United States, and we're doing it in other countries too. What are the main benefits? We eliminate 99.9 of the viruses, bacteria, fungi, spores. We save in cleaning, disinfection. We diminish work absenteeism because of disease. We provide sanitation trust to customers and employees. We're prepared for the new sanitation standards. Something that worries me, the private initiatives always go quicker than government or public areas. But there's no institution currently that is doing this microbiologic measurement in restaurants, cooperative restaurants, airports, to see whether what they're implementing is truly working. They're saying, well, I do nebulization at 8 in the morning every day. Well, as soon as the first person comes in, they contaminate again. At 2 p.m., the load of microbes is very full again. So we can control this. At a point in time, these sanitation standards will advance, and they will request anywhere or any public space to have a microbiologic measurement on established standards. Obviously, this will strengthen the institutional image, and we will care for customers, passengers, and so forth. Here I have a comparative table with different technologies that certainly have been offered to you or you're using. Well, in our case, we disinfect the air. 99.99% of the viruses, bacteria, fungi, they're all eliminated. And the same way with this air that is treated, we will eliminate 100% of microorganisms and surfaces, and we are 100% friendly with human beings. Different from this, we find ozone, that it does eliminate on the air, also on the surface, but we cannot apply it. Meanwhile, the personnel is in the facilities, so we don't have total efficiency because we ourselves are the focus of infection. No matter how much I clean up a space, it's not the space that will contaminate me. We contaminate other people. So it's important to know that this microbiologic load attacks employees, passengers, or anybody who could be in the area. In regard to HEPA filters that have been used a lot, it's a technology, passive technology. As we mentioned, I must take the problem to the solution. I can only extract a part of the air. Talking with somebody the other day about air aspects, they told us airplanes have HEPA filters. But right now, I could contaminate the person next to me. So no matter how much the airplane cleans up this air, it's not going to be 100% efficient. All HEPA filters work really well. in case more than 1.1, it will do nothing with EPA. The EPA doesn't work with COVID. We don't do anything on the surface, but it is friendly with human beings. So far, it's the technology. But the most utilized filters in the world, we find ultraviolet light, nebulization, ultraviolet. I would like to clarify that there are several studies that it tells us it only eliminates 100% in the only very flat surfaces, 100% of microbes. When you have a surface that is flat and smooth, then, or it has shadows, then it cannot kill the microorganisms, ultraviolet light. So it's not good for all areas. And if ultraviolet light has the necessary efficiency, this is damaging for the human being. So they must, it must be applied where there are no human beings. The same with nebulization. It could be with chemicals or peroxide, but the levels of peroxide that are used are greater than those allowed by OMS. So we cannot continue, or WHO, excuse me. So we can't go inside the airplanes, and we can have people like in Ghostbusters fumigating and doing all of this, but you can't do it with people inside the plane though. Now we go to the different types of equipment we have. So we can go to your questions. I imagine you have several. We have equipment that go directly work with the ducts. Well, we make a small hole. The head we see here is outside, and only the cartridge and catalyzers is inside the duct. We're not a filter. We don't affect, there's no drop in pressure in the duct. It's the same pressure. We will take advantage to send this peroxide to the different areas. We have 5 versions, the 200 up to 200 square meters, 25 to 40 square meters, one model for 100 square meters. What we would have to talk in cubic meters here. But it's complicated for people. Here we calculate 3 meters height. If we have twice the height in many airports, even 3 times higher, we would have to split this, divide this. If we have 100 square meters, 6 meters high, it would be 50 square meters, or those same 300 cubic meters. So we need to calculate this depending on the surface size. We have the 2,500 for 250 square meters, or the 5,000 for 500 square meters. In the same way, we have equipment like those we have installed in Orly, New York, portable equipment. For me, this is the best one we're using. Not the best one in the case of airports necessarily, but it has different applications. We can install it at airports, in an office, at a home, anywhere, in a restaurant. And we call it plug and play because you just plug it in, and there you see it says 3,000 square feet. And depending on the area, we will purify. We will apply it here, and then we can purify those areas. We have 2 models. We have the 50 model for 50 square meters, and the 3,001, 200 square meters. But depending on the load of people, we offer for up to 278, 300 square meters. In the same way, I installed this in the Mexico City airport once. This is impulsion equipment. The only thing we do, the same equipment we have for the ducts, we build a box to simulate a duct. And in this manner, it can work 24 hours a day, and we don't have to use the airport's ventilation. So we have for 25, 40, 100, 500, up to 1,000 square meters. So depending on the areas, there must be open areas. The only thing that limits us, the technology, is the separation, the doors. If I have an office with 10 cubicles or an office of the same size open, if it's open, certainly I will have one single equipment for 250 square meters. But if I have 10 cubicles, I will need one equipment per cubicle, be it in the duct or with its own inclusion. So these are topics to consider. We have another model, Overwatch. This is, we simply remove a board 60 by 60. We place this Overwatch and immediately we connect it to, and we're purifying. It gives a good impression. And we have it in two versions, one for 100 square meters, one for 300 square meters, another for 250 square meters. Well, we go into the conclusions. Now we have an important part, which is your questions. What is it we need to do? I think all efforts you are doing. I just came from Spain 3 weeks ago. There are many deficiencies. You go to the airport. Well, we wash our hands. There is nebulization. People in front of me with a face mask, we know it doesn't eliminate 100% of organisms. Well, there's this problem, this pollution. And if somebody touches the surface, it's not that somebody automatically will be behind me cleaning this up. But if we do it through the air, which is the best way of reaching every corner, if somebody touches a surface, it's certain in 20, 30 seconds it will be disinfected because our air will disinfect it. So these are some of the things we need to keep in mind. We have NCC technology, catalytic converter 24/7. We don't need staff. This is the best part. There are always many programs out there in the States on disinfection carried out at hotels, and there's always a place that was not cleaned up 100%. Unfortunately, human beings cannot, we cannot see these viruses. It's like almost impossible to reach every corner, but through the air, we can do it. So this is it, to be with the new sanitation standards. This is all. Thank you very much. I would like to, I don't know if you sent questions or Francisco, you will ask them, or what comes next? Can you hear me okay? Yes. Thank you, Manuel. Yes, in fact, we have several. I will read the first one from Diego Sanz, Argentina 2000 Airport. He's asking about the duration of the generators, whether they must be replaced or how often the cartridges have to be replaced. We have different types of maintenance, corrective and preventive. Corrective is not necessary if we use our own inclusion document. If they're in the ducts, they might need some type of maintenance if the duct is not clean enough. But our technology itself has maintenance every 18 months with a cost of 20% of the equipment. Thank you very much. We also have a question from Mauricio of Argentina 2000 Airport. And what is your idea, whether if you apply this technology, what would happen with the distancing between people to prevent infection? You think it would normalize, it would be the same? Well, under my point of view, well, I always have a portable one. Under my point of view, I believe this already revolutionized and changed things. It will be like with the Twin Towers of the attacks. There will be no changes. I think people will continue with their distance. There will be cleanups and sanitation and demands from the governments to do it. Sanitation, hands cleaning. Nonetheless, we can say we could prevent the use of face masks. That could be controlled. We know that at a meter and a half of distance, microorganisms are dead. But if we test if we are 30 centimeters away, we cannot contaminate no one if the technology is applied properly. But we don't decide this. But under my point of view, we could, our new normality would be very similar to the previous one. Thank you, Manuel. We have a few more. Another person is asking us if it affects these cartridges affect the energy consumption. The consumption of energy is 15 watts. So it's less than a saving bulb. With our own impulsion, it's 60 watts. So energy consumption is nothing to be concerned about. An important point here I would like to clarify is that if we use the technology that is of our own impulsion, not ducts, in case of airports that due to reduction of operations, they close flights or at night, these equipments can operate 24 hours without you having to use to turn on your air conditioning at night. This is of great support because you're not using electricity of the air conditioning systems. It would be on their own impulsion systems, our own energy. Well, in fact, our analysis when we installed in Banco Santander to have a better quality of air always makes it that areas feel cooler. Because of this, they dropped from 21 to, they upped all the way to 23 degrees, the air conditioning systems, and they were 21 degrees before. So they're cooler now. So our energy consumption is low. We help them to save on air conditioning too. Okay, we continue with questions. In this occasion, Victor Silva Azur is asking, at what distance from your final exit and rooms or spaces must you install in your ducts? They must be installed in the ducts or the areas. The ideal is to not to travel more than 20 meters in the duct for our equipment. So we do an assessment from where the diffuser is going back. We set it up for around 20 meters. And it depends on the area we want to cover, 100, 200 meters or so. Now, as Pablo was saying, currently what we recommend 100% is to have our own impulsion systems. In this sense, we are working 24 hours a day, and you can turn off your air conditioning at night or whenever you like. There's also an interesting situation with our own impulsion system. The airport itself can promote that the air is being disinfected, because if they're placed in the ducts, even though it's being done, the passenger doesn't see it. But if they see an artifact that is doing this, if they see it, the passengers can have more certainty that something is being done to disinfect the air if they can see it. That's correct. We have seen lots of interest on the presentation. Questions keep popping up. Another question from Cordova, Eduardo Lori. He's asking whether you could go over once again and briefly the plug-and-play equipment that you have installed in other terminals, as you mentioned before. Yes, the 3001 equipment. Well, the New York and Orly have it. We installed some 3001s directly on the stands or the customer service platform, so people could see them. But we can do it with all pure 3001. Well, duct stations, we can replace them with plug and play because they will work 24/7 for specific areas. The difference of the 3001, it can be regulated from 50 square meters to 250 square meters, depending on the area we want to cover. So we use it in surgery rooms, at homes, hotel rooms, restaurants, well, anywhere. This is Nestor Diego Lopez, Argentina 2000 airports, comparing with the technology of ozone. He's asking, it's similar, the way it works like ozone, but replacing oxygen with water for the oxidant. What is the question between the effects on people on ozone? There are studies that say that it can be damaging. Why doesn't it happen in this case? In fact, ozone is a O3, natural oxidizer. Nonetheless, the way and the amounts, we're 40 times more powerful than ozone without causing irritation. The difference is that when you generate the necessary amount of ozone to eliminate organisms, it can damage and irritate us. We have a study that we can share with you. We can show you the peroxide levels we generate is less than 1/100th of what WHO allows, but it's enough to eliminate them. How do we know we generate peroxide? Because we generate it at higher levels. We keep improving the technology until we saw we were not producing peroxide anymore, but we knew we were producing it. It was so low. The machines that we have to generate ozone have not found a way to generate those low levels of ozone that won't harm us. This is why we can't use them when we are in the areas. We, in some of our equipments, we generate ozone. So we could combine ozone with peroxide in some areas. We have equipment designed for water treatment plants. It's through ozone peroxide. It's better than just peroxide, but there are places where there are no people where we can apply it. But for human beings, we never apply it. Thank you, Manuel. Many more questions keep coming up. We will try to share them all, as many as possible. If not, we will send them through email, but we read a few more. Antonio Raul from Barranquilla is asking, if the own impulsion or own movement equipment take the air from themselves or from outside, and what is the cost per square meter for the equipment? We don't recycle the air, as I mentioned. We're not a filter. We send the solution to the problem. So we need very little relative humidity, very little air. With a fan that we have, this peroxide we are producing, we send it to the environment, but we are not extracting or taking air out or recirculating air. We're just simply generating peroxide, and this is the natural way in the planet. We only do what nature does, bring in air to a closed space. We don't recirculate, neither we're cleaning the inside air. We've done it in companies that don't have ventilation or had extraction, and we're looking for changing air in some. We're generating new air, basically. What we're sending is air we are creating within peroxide. There is oxygen. Thank you, Manuel. Another question of Carmen Valdivia. We are, sorry, I didn't mention the cost. We're talking about $1,400. $1,400. It varies a lot depending on the areas. As I was saying, it's not the same to install a totally open area, 1,000 open meters, open area, to 1,000 meters with many cubicles and kiosks where you need more equipment. For you to have an idea, we're talking about $5 a square meter in 18 months. About 30 US cents, about 60 US cents per day per 150 square meters, more or less. To add to this, equipment we have is the Greyhound system for buses. So we did an analysis for these types of buses, and the cost was about $3 per day. So that gives you an idea of that we have this solution for buses too. In remote stations, 24/7, 12 volts DC, and the cost is more or less about $3 per bus per day, and it works 12 volts. In small spaces, it's cheaper, as Pablo said. When we have very concentrated spaces, it can go up to $3 per day. Thank you. And now, Carmen Valdivia from Tocumen. If it has been tested, have you seen any type of harm for food in case we use this in a VIP room? Quite the opposite. Well, in the last 20 years, we have verified this delays the maturation processes of vegetables and fruits. Not only this, you all know Bimbo, the plants, Bimbo plants for bread, and we provide more shelf life to Jello and bread. In the case of Walmart, we install where they have free pie, cold pies, because we killed all the mass or baking mass we use for their mixes. And any microorganisms that can be harming ham and cheese, we eliminate them. So it doesn't affect anything, and it doesn't affect any aroma or taste in the food. And palm olive Colgate, we eliminated the odor problems they had, and we did not affect any products. So we don't affect any product. So it even works for odors in bathrooms because of the pathogens, and it also generates oxygen. So the air, in general, have pure air. All terminals use the equipment. Thank you, Pablo. We have one more question of Jared Linking, Punta Cana. Is asking two questions. One is the shelf life, useful life of the equipment, and the second, whether you recommend this type of technology or solutions for semi-open spaces, and in this case, if it would affect the effectiveness of the solution. Correct. The useful life of the equipment, more or less, we say it's about 6 years, but I have equipment that is still installed more than 12 years later since we started with this. They're still operating with their proper and timely maintenance, and in semi-open areas we have installed in several places. Well, this would be like an air conditioning system. We can install them in air conditioning, but it demands a higher load to keep these areas cold. If the areas are too open, we need to have a higher load of peroxide to attack the microbes in the same manner. Thank you. Another question from Agustin Minorini, Argentina 2000 Airports. He's asking whether there are savings and the frequency of changing filters and cleaning the serpentines in the air conditioning filters. Yes, normally there's a bio-nesting that we do. There's a fungi that is left in the filter normally. So they start to grow, and then they drop the pressure of the duct, air pressure. It needs more energy to push the same amount of air then. And at the end, the spores just go through. With our technology, that fungi that will stick it in that filter, we kill it. So the life of the HEPA filters, at least in our analysis, some go from 3 to 6 months and some from 6 to 9 months. We have expanded the life of the HEPA filters. Thank you, Manuel. I understand. This has been answered already, but to reinforce it, Dante Simone is asking whether there is a loss of electricity or a charge when you include these equipment. It drops the power. No, we don't drop the power. We're not a filter. This would simply, it's 4 centimeters in width by 32 centimeters long. We're just taking advantage of their own impulsion or propulsion systems. Thank you. I think a couple more. They ask us if the system requires daily supervision, if this solution requires some type of recurrent daily supervision or not necessary. Nothing. We have two ways to supervise. One is what's more normal, our energy source, ultraviolet light, will last 9 months. So every 3 months we supervise to see if the ultraviolet light is on, is enough. They all have LED lights to verify whether they're on, and we can do it through GPRS. So the system is integrated, and in the company they can check out whether the equipment is turned on. Thank you. We have several more, but Jairo Osopo, Barranquilla Airport. If you can summarize for us, what economic benefits does this system have as compared to others, EPA or others? Well, more than economic benefit, you need to look at the real benefit. We are the only technology that can work 24 hours a day. So we are the only one that can contain this, stop this contamination or diminish it more efficiently. In any way, it's much cheaper. We're talking about 60 cents per day or $3 a day to keep purified a bus, as Pablo was saying. Well, I don't know how much, what the cost would be with nebulization, to give you an example, with filters also, and with ozone, you would only do it at night or in the morning. So you're not working 24/7 or 24 hours a day. So if we would like to install technology for 24 hours a day, you would be hands-free disinfection. We are the most economic by far. What's more important here, when the system works 24 hours a day, it's not necessary to reinvest in other types of disinfection or cleaning, like cleaning surfaces constantly, in people to clean up surfaces, and other nebulization systems. All of this is eliminated. With this system, you don't need to do it anymore. Obviously, well, you need to do normal cleaning up. The one we did before COVID for dust and other things, but for pathogens, what we're doing now during COVID, we would eliminate. So this would be a big saving. Thank you, Pablo. Another question. Aeropuertos, Argentina 2000. Somebody sneezes or coughs in infected air and uses this technology. How long will the virus live in the air? There are important things to look into. When we talk about sneezing, we're talking about microparticles. Microparticles would not even travel 30 centimeters from the mouth of the person. In the case of sneezing, no more than 1.5 meters. They would be 100% eliminated. Two more from Iris, Costa Rica. Yesenia is asking us if there is a guarantee that equipment that is installed in the terminals will not be harmed. And the other one from Gabriela Eris, she would like to know whether there is a special condition that the air conditioning units must have to install this equipment. Nothing. As you saw, you can install it in ducts. Just like the video you saw, they use technology and they're connected to the light, to the power. It's very simple. In the States, we sell this so everybody can do it at home. but we do the installation, and that we don't harm anything. No, we don't do anything, actually. We do the same what nature does. So we would not have any need to damage, harm anything. There's never been a case in our history that anything has been damaged or harmed. Well, it's the first time they asked me, but I will see how we can answer more scientifically. Thank you. Very interesting. Patricio is from Quito Airport is asking us, from air handling to diffusion inside the ducts, is there a unit every 20 meters, or how does it work? No, what we need to see, we will see how many cubic meters we need to purify. To give you an example, if the air manager to the exit, there are 18 meters, and that exit covers 250 meters, we only install one equipment and the air manager system to purify those 250 square meters. If it's those 250 square meters, but the duct is 40 meters, before the grate, we would install the equipment close to the grate. We want to purify all 250 square meters, and based on this, we see where we place the equipment and how much equipment we need. We can have one diffuser for 250 square meters. It depends on the area. Thank you, Manuel. Well, the rest of the questions are similar. The price per square meter, or how much equipment is required in a large area, 1,000 meters maybe, or something. I don't know if you want to summarize this part, the different areas, how much equipment you would need at the terminals. And another new question from Honduras, besides the one I just mentioned, if you have any type of validation from WHO about the effectiveness of the process. WHO doesn't certify anything, but we have SGS, the biggest certifier in the world. They just place the parameters. WHO, what you can breathe of peroxide per day through the whole day is 0.x particles per thousand. We generate under 0.007. So this endorses we generate less than 0.007 by a certifying company. We're way below what WHO demands. So in relation to the costs, how it would be used, in our bids, we have realized that, for instance, at the check-in area, we use duct stations. We eliminate the use of the central air conditioning. And with this technology, we could work approximately at $3 a cubic meter. And we could cover the whole area at the check-in with having few units in different positions. With 2 or 3 big units, we could cover them. Now in boarding areas, we could have maybe more of these units. This is what we've been handling in our bidding processes. Thank you, Pablo. Gabriela, also from Aeris, is asking once again whether there is any time of a specific electricity connection to install this equipment. If there is any type of a specific electric connection that is needed, monophasic, triphasic, no. It's either 110 or 220 volts, it's the same. And they come with their adapters. We just need a power point to connect them. And they, and depending on the country, you can use them 110 or 220 volts. So we send them to you under your requirements. Perfect. Well, I believe that's it for the time being. There's a question that has several more questions inside this one. I think we can send it directly to you so you can answer them. But before we finish, one of them comes from Lima Airport. I think it's interesting. It's asking, in Lima, they have a higher than 90% relative humidity in Lima. They're asking whether this affects the efficiency or capacity of your equipment. Correct. In Cancun, where I live, the same. The more humidity we have, the better. We work from 28, 30, 25% relative humidity upwards without any problem. The more humidity, the more efficiency, because we take advantage of this humidity to decompose it into peroxide. Perfect. Well, now the last one, Maximiliano Carroll is asking whether peroxide can act as fuel if there's a fire. No, the levels are so low of peroxide gas. This is a very good question. No, the only thing we're just generating, we generate less peroxide than the sea waves or beach can generate. If it's not like there's more oxygen, there can be more combustion. No, that's not the case. It will not affect any fire aspects. On my behalf, there are no more questions. If more keep coming up, we will send them to Manuel and Pablo so they can answer directly. I don't know if you want to give us a closing comment before we end the webinar. Pablo, yes. Well, I want to thank all the participants for being with us today. We are certain this is a revolutionary solution that will help us to go back to the previous normality as soon as possible. And well, any question you have, any requests you have, I'm at your service. We will send you our email. We will also send you all the additional information. So, and we will answer all the questions you have. We're at your service anytime you need us. Thank you. Manuel, anything you would like to add? No, thanks for everything. We're at your service. It's important to clarify that through these technologies, certainly new ones will come up. I think it's excellent that there is competition and new technologies that truly help us to control these issues. It's important. At such a low cost, we know the whole world is undergoing bad times. Nobody wants to invest, but with a minimum investment, we can help so this goes back to normality as soon as possible, and our people, our workers, our loved ones don't have to go through these problems. Depending on the viral load that anybody breathes, this will be the level of infection they can contract. So a very high viral load could be a problem. So we will try to help you reduce all of these viral infections. Thank you very much, Manuel and Pablo, for your time and for preparing the slides. Similar to other webinars, we'll be sharing the recording of the same, so much in English and Spanish, and the presentations that will include your information. And if anyone has any questions, they can contact you directly. The questions that have been coming in, we will send them to Manuel and Pablo for them to be answered. Once again, thank you very much for your time. And we will continue with these webinars. Thank you. May you have a good day. Thanks to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.